Hello and welcome to Sleep Cove. Please listen to this episode in a place where you can safely go to sleep. This is a charity episode in aid of the people of Ukraine. All sponsorship money from this episode, including advertisements, will be going to the UNICEF Ukraine appeal. And if you would like to donate to that, I'll leave the link in the details. If you would like to donate, please tag me in on social media and take a screenshot of your donation so we can share it and hopefully get more donations. This is the Ukrainian folktale of pea-roller, where a boy defeats a dragon. A great analogy right now. And let's begin. The story of pea-roller. There once lived a man who had 6 sons and 1 daughter, Alenka by name. One day the sons went out to plough, and they told their sister to bring them their dinner to the field. "How will I find you there?" Alenka asked. The brothers said, "We will dig a furrow stretching from the hut to the patch we will be ploughing. You will find us if you follow it." And with that they drove away. Now in the forest behind the field there lived a dragon, and he came and filled in the furrow the brothers had made with earth, and made a furrow of his own, which led to the door of his house. And when Alenka went to take her brother's dinner to them, she followed it, and walked straight into the dragon's courtyard, and was at once seized by the dragon. In the evening, the brothers came home, and they said to the mother, "We were ploughing all day. Why didn't you send us anything to eat?" "But I did," the mother replied. "I sent Alenka to the field with your dinner, and I thought she would be coming back with you. She must have lost her way." "We must go back and look for her," the brothers said. They set out at once, all 6 of them, and followed the dragon's furrow to his courtyard. They came through the gate, and there was their sister running out to meet them. "Oh, my brothers, my dear brothers, where will I hide you?" Alenka cried. "The dragon is out now, but he will eat you up when he comes back." And lo, there was the dragon, flying towards them, and hissing like the serpent he was. "I smell a man. I smell many men," he called. "Well now, my lads, is it to fight me you have come, or to make peace with me?" "To fight you," they called back. "Very well then, let us go to the iron threshing floor." They went to the iron threshing floor, but they did not fight long, for the dragon struck them once and drove them into the floor. Then he pulled them out, more dead than alive, and threw them into a deep dungeon. The mother and father waited for their sons to return, but they waited in vain. One day the mother went to the river with her washing. She looked, and there, rolling towards her along the road, she saw a tiny pea. She picked it up and ate it, and in due time a son was born to her, and they called him Kotyhoroshko, or pea-roller. One day his father and he were digging a well, and their spades struck a stone. It was a huge stone, and the father went to call his neighbours to help him lift it. But pea-roller had lifted it and thrown it out by himself before he was back. The neighbours came and looked, and were amazed and frightened too, for they saw that pea-roller was much stronger than any of them. Indeed, so frightened were they that they wanted to kill him. But pea-roller tossed the stone up into the air and then caught it, and seeing this feat of strength they ran away. The father and son went on digging. They dug till their spades struck a huge piece of iron, and pea-roller lifted it out and hid it. Some time passed, and one day pea-roller asked his parents if it was true that he had 6 brothers and a sister. "Indeed it is, son," the parents said, "but they went away once and never returned." And they told him the whole story. "I will go in search of them," said pea-roller. The mother and father began pleading with him not to. "Don't do it, son," they said. "Your brothers went to seek your sister, and all 6 of them perished, and you, all alone as you are, will fare no better." No, I will," said pea-roller. "They are my own flesh and blood, and I must find out what happened to them." And he took the piece of iron he found to the blacksmith. "Forge me a sword, and the bigger it will be, the better," said he. And the blacksmith forged him a sword so large and heavy that it was as much as anyone could do to carry it out of his shop. But pea-roller lifted it easily and hurled it high into the air. "I will now have a sleep," said he to his father. "Wake me up in 12 days' time when the sword comes flying back." He went to bed and slept for 12 days, and on the 13th day the sword came flying back, making a humming sound as it flew. The father woke him. Pea-roller sprang up and held up a finger, and the sword struck it and split in 2. "I cannot go to see my brothers and sister with so poor a sword," said pea-roller. "I must have another." And picking up the broken sword, he took it to the blacksmith. "Forge me a new sword out of this one," said he. "Make one to suit a man as strong as I." The blacksmith forged him a sword that was even bigger than the first, and pea-roller flung it high into the air, and then went to bed and slept for another 12 days. On the 13th day the sword came flying back, humming as it flew and making the earth quake and tremble. The mother and father woke pea-roller, who sprang to his feet and held up a finger, and the sword struck it but did not break and only bent a little. "Here is a good sword indeed," said pea-roller. "Now I can go to seek my brothers and sisters. Bake me some bread, mother, and make some rusks. I will set out on my way." He took his sword and a bag full of rusks, and bidding his mother and father goodbye, set forth from home. He followed the dragon's old furrow, which was barely to be seen, and soon was deep in the forest, and he walked on till he came to a fenced-in courtyard that surrounded a large house. He walked into the yard and on into the house, and he found his sister Olenka there. "Good morning, lass," said pea-roller, who didn't know it was his sister. "Good morning to you, good youth. Why have you come here? The dragon is out, but Lai will soon be back and will eat you up," Olenka said. "We shall see. Perhaps he won't. But who are you, lass? And why are you here?" "I used to live with my mother and father, but the dragon carried me off, and though my 6 brothers tried to free me, they did not succeed." "Where are your brothers?" pea-roller asked. "The dragon threw them into a dungeon, and I do not know if they are alive or dead." "Perhaps I can free you," said pea-roller. "My 6 brothers couldn't rescue me, so how can you?" "We shall see what we shall see," said pea-roller, and he sat down by a window and waited. By and by the dragon came flying back. He flew into the house and he twitched his nose. "I smell a man," cried he. "Of course you do, for here I am," said pea-roll-along, coming forward. "And what brings you here, my lad? Do you want to fight me or to make peace with me?" said the dragon. "To fight you," pea-roll-along cried. "Well, then let us go to the iron threshing floor." "Let's." They came to the iron threshing floor, and the dragon faced pea-roll-along. "You strike first," he said. "No, you do," said pea-roll-along. They crossed swords, and the dragon struck pea-roll-along such a blow that he sank ankle-deep into the iron threshing floor. But pea-roll-along was out again in a flash, and he brandished his sword and gave the dragon an answering blow that drove him knee-deep into the iron threshing floor. The dragon heaved himself out, and he again came to pea-roll-along and drove him as deep into the floor as he had just been driven himself. But pea-roll-along was not one to be frightened, and he struck the dragon a blow which drove him waist-deep into the floor, and then another that killed him on the spot. He then made his way to the dungeon, freed his brothers who were more dead than alive, and taking them and his sister Alenka with him, and all the gold and silver in the dragon's house too, set out for home. But he never told them that he was their brother. Whether they were long on the way or not, nobody knows. But by and by they sat down for a rest under the oak tree, and so tired was pea-roll-along after his battle that he fell fast asleep, and his 6 brothers talked it all over among themselves and said, "People will laugh at us when they learn that the 6 of us could not do away with the dragon, while this young lad here did it all by himself, and he will get all the dragon's riches besides." And they decided to bind pea-roll-along while he was asleep and helpless to the oak tree, and leave him there to be devoured by the wild beasts. No sooner said than done. They bound him up to the tree and left him there and went away. When pea-roll-along slept on and felt nothing, he slept for a day and he slept for a night, and then he woke to find himself bound to the oak tree. But he jerked and heaved, and lo, out of the tree, roots and all, from the ground, and pea-roll-along threw it over his shoulder and went home. He came up to the house, and he heard his brothers talking to their mother. "Did you have any more children, mother, after we left home?" they asked her. "Yes, indeed," the mother replied. "I had a son, pea-roll-along by name, who went off to seek you." "Then it must have been him we bound to the oak tree. We'd better go back at once and untie him," the brothers said. But pea-roll-along brandished the oak he was carrying and struck the roof of the hut so hard that the hut all but crumbled to the ground. "Stay where you are, since you are what you are and no better, my brothers," he cried. "I will go off by myself and roam the wild world." And he shouldered his sword and set out on his way. On and on he walked, and he saw 2 mountains ahead of him. Between them stood a man who had his hands and feet set against them and was trying to push them apart. "Good morning, friend," pea-roll-along called out. "Good morning to you," the man replied. "What are you doing?" "I'm moving the mountains apart to make a path," he replied. "Where are you going?" "To the world and to make a fortune," he said. "I'm out to do the same. What's your name?" said pea-roll-along. "Move Mountain. What's yours?" "My name is pea-roll-along. Let's go together." "Yes, let's," they both agreed. They went along together, and they walked and they walked, and they saw a man in the forest who was pulling out oak trees by the roots, and he had only to give a tree one twist, and out it came. "Good morning, friend," called pea-roll along and move mountain. "Good morning to you, my lads," the man called back. "What are you doing?" they asked him. "Uprooting trees in order to make a path," he replied. "Where are you going?" "To seek my fortune." "We're out to do the same. What's your name?" "Twist Oak," he said. "What's yours?" "Our names are pea-roll along and move mountain. Let's go together." "Let's," they all agreed. So the three of them went on together. They walked and by they saw a man sitting on the bank of a river. The man had the longest of long whiskers, and he only had to twirl one of them for the waters to part and roll away, leaving a path and thus enabling all who wanted to walk over the riverbed. "Good morning, friend," the group called out to him. "Good morning to you, my lads." "What are you doing?" said the group. "I'm parting the waters in order to cross the river." "Where are you going?" "To seek my fortune," he replied. "We're out to do the same. What's your name?" the group said in unison. "Twirl Whisker. What are yours?" "Our names are pea-roll along, move mountain and twist oak. Let's go together." "Let's," they all agreed. They went on together and had an easy time of it, for Move Mountain moved aside every mountain, Twist Oak uprooted every forest, and Twirl Whisker parted the waters of every river that lay in their path. They walked and they came to a small hut standing in the middle of a large forest. They stepped inside, and would you believe it, there was no one there. "Here's where we'll spend the night," said Pea-roll along. They spent the night in the hut, and in the morning Pea-roll along said, "You stay at home, Move Mountain, and cook our dinner for us, and we three will go hunting." They went away, and Move Mountain cooked a big dinner and lay down for a sleep. Suddenly came a rap at the door. Rap, tap, tap. "Open the door," someone called. "I'm no servant of yours to open doors," Move Mountain called back. The door opened and the same voice called again, "Carry me over the threshold." "You're no lord of mine, so don't wail or whine," Move Mountain called back. And lo, there climbed over the threshold the tiniest old man that ever was seen, with a beard so long that it trailed over the floor. The little old man caught Move Mountain by the hair and hung him up on a nail on the wall. Then he ate all there was to eat and drank all there was to drink, and after cutting a long strip of skin from Move Mountain's back, he went away. Move Mountain twisted and turned on the nail till he broke loose, and then he set to work cooking dinner anew. He was still at it when his friends returned. "Why are you so late getting dinner?" "I dozed off and forgot all about it," said Move Mountain. They ate their fill and they went to bed, and on the following morning Pea-roll along said, "Now you stay at home, Twist Oak, and the rest of us will go hunting." They went away, and Twist Oak cooked a big dinner and lay down for a sleep. Suddenly there was a rap at the door. Rap, tap, tap. "Open the door," a voice called. "I'm no servant of yours to open doors," Twist Oak called back. "Carry me over the threshold," the same voice called again. "You're no lord of mine, so don't wail or whine," Twist Oak replied. And lo, there climbed over the threshold and stepped into the hut the tiniest old man that ever was seen, with a beard so long that it trailed over the floor. He caught Twist Oak by the hair and hung him on a nail, and then he ate all there was to eat and drank all there was to drink. And after cutting a long strip of skin from Twist Oak's back, went away. Twist Oak twisted and turned this way and that, till he succeeded in breaking free, and then he at once set to work cooking dinner anew. He was still at it when his friends returned. "Why are you so late getting dinner?" they asked. "I dozed off and only woke a little while ago," said Twist Oak. But Move Mountain said nothing, for he knew what had happened. On the third day, Twirl Whisker was the one to remain at home, and the same thing happened to him. Pea-roller said, "You are indeed slow getting dinner, all three of you. Tomorrow you'll go hunting and I'll stay at home." Morning came and pea-roll-along remained at home, while his three friends went hunting. He cooked a big dinner, and just as he lay down for a sleep, there came a rap at the door. Rap, tap, tap. "Open the door," someone called. Pea-roll-along opened the door, and there before him was the tiniest old man that ever lived, with a beard so long that it trailed over the floor. "Carry me over the threshold, my lad," said the little old man. Pea-roll-along picked him up, carried him into the hut, and set him down on the floor, and the little old man began dancing round and round, taking little flying jumps at him. "What do you want?" asked Pea-roll-along. "You'll see what I want," said the little old man, and stretching out his hand, he was about to seize Pea-roll-along by the hair, but Pea-roll-along cried out, "Ah, that's the sort you are," and caught him by the beard instead. Then, taking an axe, he dragged the little old man to an oak tree, split the oak tree in two, and thrust the little old man's beard into the cleft, pinning it fast. "You were mean enough to try and catch me by the hair," said he to the little old man, "so now you'll have to stay here until I return." He went back to the hut, and he found his three friends waiting for him there. "Is dinner ready?" they asked. "Yes, it's been ready and waiting a long time," Pea-roll-along replied. They sat down and began eating, and after they had finished, Pea-roll-along said, "Come with me and I will show you the most unusual sight." He led them outside, but oddly enough there was no oak tree there, and no little old man either, for the little old man had pulled out the oak tree by the roots and dragged it away with him. Pea-roll-along then told his friends of all that had happened to him, and they on their parts confessed that the little old man had them hanging from a nail and had cut strips of skin from their backs. "He's a wicked old thing, that little man is, and we better go and find him," said Pea-roll-along. Now the little old man had been dragging the oak tree and had left a trail they found easy to follow, and it led them to a hole in the ground so deep that it seemed bottomless. Pea-roll-along turned to the Move Mountain. "Climb down the hole, Move Mountain," he said. "No, I won't," answered Move Mountain. "How about you, Twist Oak, or you, Twirl Whisker?" But neither Twist Oak nor Twirl Whisker would risk climbing down the hole. "Very well then, I'll do it," said Pea-roll-along. "Let's plait a rope." They plaited a rope, and Pea-roll-along wound one end of it round his head. "Let me down," he said. They began letting him down, and it took them a long time, for so deep was the hole that to reach its bottom it was likely to reach the netherworld. But they got him down at last, and Pea-roll-along set out to explore the place. On and on he walked, and there before him was a huge palace. He went inside, and everything there sparkled and shone, for the palace was made of gold and precious stones. He passed from chamber to chamber, and all of a sudden, who should come running towards him but a princess? And so beautiful was she that no pen could describe her, and no tongue sing her praises. "What brings you here, good youth?" she asked. "I'm looking for a little old man with a beard that trails over the ground," said pea-roll-along. "Ah," she said, "the little old man has got his beard stuck in the cleft of an oak tree and is trying to pull it out. But don't go to him or he will kill you, as he did many others before you." "You won't be killing me," said pea-roll-along. "It was I who stuck his beard in the cleft. But who are you, and what are you doing here?" "I am a princess and the daughter of a king. The little old man carried me off and is keeping me captive here," the princess said. "I will free you, never fear. Just take me to him." The princess led pea-roll-along to the little old man, and lo, there he sat stroking his beard, which he had pulled out of the cleft. At the sight of pea-roll-along, the little old man turned red with anger. "What brings you here? Have you come to fight me or to make peace with me?" he asked. "I'm here to fight you," said pea-roll-along. "Do you think I would make peace with the likes of you?" They crossed swords and they fought long and fiercely, till at last pea-roll-along struck the little old man hard, and he died. After that, pea-roll-along and the princess took all the gold and gems they could find in the palace, and filling 3 sacks of them, made for the hole down which pea-roll-along had climbed into the underground kingdom. They came to it soon enough, and pea-roll-along began calling to his friends. "Are you still there, my brothers?" he cried. "We are," came the reply. Pea-roll-along tied one of the sacks to the rope. "Pull it up, brothers," he cried again. "The sack is yours." They pulled up the sack and let down the rope, and pea-roll-along tied the second sack to it. "Pull it up, this one is yours too," he called. He sent up the third sack as well, and they tied the princess to the rope. "The princess is mine," he called. The 3 friends pulled out the princess, and now only pea-roll-along was left at the bottom of the hole. "Let's pull him up a little way, and then let go of the rope," said they. "He will be killed and the princess will be ours." But pea-roll-along guessed what they were up to, and tied a large stone to the rope. "Now pull me up," he called. They pulled up the rope and they let go of it, and down came the stone with a crash. "A fine lot of friends I have," said pea-roll-along, and he set out to roam the kingdom at the bottom of the hole. On and on he walked, and all of a sudden the sky became overcast, and the rain came down, and hail too. Pea-roll-along hid under an oak tree, and he stood there as he heard the chirping of baby eagles coming from a nest at the top of the tree. He climbed the tree, and taking off his coat, covered the eagles with it. The rain stopped, and a huge eagle, the nestling's father, came flying. "Who was it that covered you, my little ones?" asked he. "We'll tell you if you promise not to eat him up," said the nestlings. "Never fear, I won't." "Well, do you see that man sitting under the tree? It was he who did it." The eagle flew down from the tree. "Ask of me whatever you want, and I will do it," said he to pea-roll-along. "This is the first time that none of my children has drowned in such a downpour with me away." "Take me to my own kingdom," said pea-roll-along. "That is not easy to do, but if we take 6 barrels of meat and 6 of water with us, I may be able to do it," the eagle said. "Every time my head turned to the right, you will throw a piece of meat into my mouth, and every time I turn to the left, you will give me a sip of water. If you don't do it, we'll never get there, for I'll die on the way." They took 6 barrels of meat and 6 of water. Pea-roller put them on the eagle's back and climbed on himself, and away they flew. And whenever the eagle turned his head to the right, Pea-roller would put some meat into his mouth, and whenever he turned it to the left, he would give him a sip of water. They flew for a long time and had nearly reached Pea-roller-Long's kingdom when the eagle turned his head to the right again. Pea-roller-Long looked into the barrel and the last of the 6, and seeing that there was not a scrap of meat left, he cut a piece of his own leg and gave it to him. "What was it I just ate?" the eagle asked. "It was very good." "A piece of my own flesh," Pea-roller replied, pointing to his leg. The eagle said nothing, but he spat out the piece of meat and, leaving Pea-roller to wait for him, flew off to fetch some living water. He was back with it before long, and no sooner had they put the piece that he had cut off to Pea-roller's leg and sprinkled it with water, it grew fast to it again and healed. After that, the eagle flew home, and Pea-roller went to seek his 3 faithless friends. Now the 3 had made their way to the palace of the princess's father, and were now living and quarrelling among themselves, for each wanted to marry the princess and would not give her up to the others. It was there that Pea-roller found them, and when they saw him they turned white with fright. Pea-roller said, "My own brothers betrayed me, so what can I ask of you? I think I'll have to forgive you." And forgive them he did. Soon after that he married the princess, and the 2 of them lived happily together ever after.